Hey, everybody. Just want to check, make sure people can hear us.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
We've got fans on because it's hot here. So if you can't hear us, we'll turn the fan off.
Or turn it. Can you turn it just a little bit that way?
Which way?
Just blowing around the room, but not directly at the mic. Other direction.
Well, that's why I was asking what your hand was doing, because I kept thinking your
I
hand
don't
was
know
going the other way.
I don't know what I'm doing. We're trying really hard to make this work well. But it's really hot here for us.
You can tell we've got two sleepers in our room. Here's one. There's two.
Sleeper people.
Our room, we have one small air conditioning unit.
In the whole house.
In the whole house. So we moved it into the bedroom today to let the sleepers get some cool. And now it's been moved out to the other room. So those that aren't here live stream with us have some cool. So
can you hear us is the question.
If you're here, please tell us. Please let us know. So we
I'm going to try to pull it up.
It says chat disconnected, not successfully connected. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't know what it's talking about. Hey, look, we're live. Look at that.
Yeah, it doesn't know what it's talking about. Hey, look, we're live. I hate himself now. So
sorry about that.
Oh, you can't turn it off. So anyway, we are here. We are hot. What's the temperature like where you guys are?
Here. We are hot. We are cooking.
The kids are out playing. Oh, she can hear us. Hi, Angela. Is it hot where you are? It's probably hotter than here, but we're big wimps.
It's like 82 here, and we think we're dying. And I know all you Florida type people are laughing at us because we're silly. I'm going to look up the temperature where it is in Tampa if Angela doesn't get there first.
So we are home. I went to a friend's yard sale today. So anyone in our area, there's a yard sale on Old County Road with a whole bunch of kid stuff.
Here, 85.
Oh, he's going to look up Tampa.
It says 91, but feels like 103.
How is that even possible?
This is why we go to Florida in the winter, and we stay here, hiding in our little weak air-conditioned sort of area. Your one says 89. You know what? It's still too hot for us. We're a bunch of wussies.
I bet Angela's at home in her air conditioning, though.
Yeah, are you in the air conditioning too? If you're smart, that's what I would do anyway.
The problem with Maine is when we get these hot days, most places don't have air conditioning. In Florida, you get to go from air conditioning to air conditioning. So yeah, Angela, we try to get out in the morning if we have to do stuff on days like this.
Yeah, I did my walk at like 8 o'clock or something, and I came in sweaty and exhausted. If you saw the video on my Facebook earlier, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't pretty at all.
I went out just a little bit ago to a friend's yard sale, socially distanced, of course, but I didn't even hug her, though I wanted to. I didn't hug her, but she had a lot of good baby stuff. And kids stuff. So I bought some board games, and the kids are working on some building contraption thing right now.
Yeah.
Out in the living room. So it was funny because it was something I was buying some school stuff the other day, and I saw these they're like these balls with holes in them, and then you stick pegs into them.
So they can go like 45 degrees, like there's 8 different positions in that around too. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I had seen these, but they were like $30, $35 on the site. And I was like, I don't want those. And I went to the yard sale, and they were like $2. I was like, okay. So that's what the kids are doing. They've already played Candyland and
did they
reading a book. They haven't played Chutes and Ladders yet. And
they built a rocket. It's about 6 feet tall, all these pieces put together, and then they tore that apart, and now they're onto something new. So that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to check, is the microphone working well? Hey, the microphone's in the thing. I'm going to put the microphone not in the thing. Bye-bye, microphone. We're going to hide you. There we go. Now the mic should be out of it, and hopefully you can still hear us because it's still pretty much in the same place.
We both have our waters because we're dying.
I'm dying of the ice water, dying of heat. I don't know, like people have said before, and we've said before, we should move to Florida. No, not unless I could live indoors underground for about 8 months a year, possibly. And I know you adjust to it to some extent, but I have so much inflammation. Like the pain in my neck today is probably a 4 or 5 instead of a 2, which is a normal day. So it's not been fun at all. And these guys are hot too, as you can tell. 1 hot sleeper and 2 hot sleepers over there. Hey, they look kind of cool. You can. Yeah.
You got a baby on the other side?
I got a baby on the other side.
I'm back.
I'm sorry, we're not terribly coordinated today. We're trying to get everything done. But it's just plain warm, and we've had a lot going on.
Yes. Well, this week has been a little crazy, and since we talked to you guys last week, am I needing to move? What am I
Just
needing
scoot
to do?
forward a little. That'd be
Okay.
awesome. That way
So-
people can see you instead of my giant head in the way.
So this past week, we did not see you guys on Saturday because we were not home on Saturday when it was time for the live stream. Had a long day. Very, very good day, but a long day.
Long day.
Then Sunday, we realized that Josiah had a spot in his mouth, a spot that he's had in his mouth that we've talked to the doctor about, but haven't seen a doctor because of COVID and everything.
Right.
Well, it turned into an abscess, and so we went to the doctor on Monday, and he is now on antibiotics, and he is getting his tooth pulled on Tuesday, which is all, it was great timing. I mean, God's timing is always perfect, but we went to the doctor on Monday to get the antibiotic. I called to see if we could go
You
to,
don't need to worry about this. I'm doing my thing.
called to go to the doctor, the dentist that we used to see, but he's not taking new patients, and because it's been so long, we'd be considered new patients. So they told me a different dentist. I called them and said, we are going to be up in Bangor for an appointment anyway. Could you see us that day for an evaluation or whatever? And they said yes. So I called back the next day to see how long they'd be booking out if we had to do an extraction. And I actually talked to the dentist that day, and they're going to evaluate it and do the extraction on the same day. So I don't have to come back. So that's a real blessing because it's 2 hours away. So that's very, very good. And then Mark has an appointment in that same town to see his doctor this coming week.
So I get to see the neurologist, the movement disorder specialist. So again, Angela will appreciate this. So he's a movement disorder specialist. He's the one that diagnosed me with paroxysmal kinesiogenic dystonia. That's one diagnosis out of a bunch.
Well, and why Angela would appreciate that is Angela is Mark's sister-in-law, and her husband also has dystonia.
Right.
So not just
So-
because Angela likes your medical issues.
So we had the lumbar puncture, and they ruled out the GLUT1 transporter deficiency. Now they're working on, so why do I have dystonia? If there's a genetic cause there, what would be the reason for that? Why would a family have a certain group of symptoms? You know, is there something that forms wrong in the brain? If so, that wouldn't make sense that we would have symptoms that developed in our 20s or 30s, or maybe a genetic predisposition to something that if an injury brings it on, that we may end up in a worse shape and start to have those symptoms. So there's all kinds of still don't have a clue what's going on kind of things going on. So we really don't know all that's expected, but we are seeing the doctor on Tuesday, and
this
hopefully
is what the kids are up to right now. I don't know if you can see. That's the new buildings that we got.
Yep. So yeah, so we go up there, and they may try to start me on a medication, but they don't really have answers as to what's causing the problem. But sometimes symptom management is important. Sometimes the medications they give for symptoms actually cause other problems. And where I have the movement problems and the startle reflex, and then I have the other symptoms like people saw this morning on my Facebook, where I'm just totally lethargic and can't even speak. Or speak very slowly. I can't move my eyes and things like that. Where my whole body feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. It's close. It's only 300, but it feels like my legs weigh all 300 pounds each. So that kind of thing. So we're still looking for answers. And while we're looking for answers from the medical community, we're also trying to find other solutions. So I ordered a bunch of vitamins from a friend of mine, Rachel, who has dystonia, struggles with some of the same symptoms, that has said, this is what I take and they help. And certainly many neurology patients in general will do well to take some of these supplements. Also just looking at your diet and looking at things that cause inflammation, things that are good for building new cells for the brain, and just in general, keeping your body healthy. So trying to make sure we're eating good foods, not eating bad foods. That's the hard part. And then, sorry, I read that and I forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
You're talking about what we're doing, diet, supplements.
Oh yeah, so trying to avoid bad food and trying to make sure we have plenty of good food. And we watched a video the other day, which I'm not advocating that this is the answer. It was Dr. Jason Fung and some others talking about intermittent fasting, talking about...
It was more about the fat
the fat in your diet, like low fat, no fat, good fat, that kind of thing. Your body needs different things, and how are we feeding our bodies, and then how are we expecting our bodies to react to different things. So one thing is intermittent fasting, which we've tried a bit off and on. It's hard for me for a couple of reasons. Some of it's self-control, but some of it is just I am hungry and my body is shutting down and I need to eat. So sometimes it doesn't work. Today, last night I went from like 9 p.m. to about 8:30. It was almost 12 hours. I think it was between 11 and 12 hours without any food, and hopefully that levels out some of your insulin and then taking in good fats. Anyhow, looking at all that kind of stuff.
And I've done intermittent.
Fat Fiction, I think
yes,
it was.
Fat Fiction. It's on Amazon Prime for free.
Mm.
And I've done intermittent fasting in the past because of I've had gestational diabetes for the last 2 pregnancies, and doing intermittent fasting has helped. I do it differently than exactly what's said because I'm doing it while I'm pregnant and I need to make sure I'm getting in enough calories, but it definitely helps, and it does help my body to do it between pregnancies, but I'm nursing. So again, it doesn't look exactly like intermittent fasting, but it does. I do make sure my body gets a break so my pancreas gets a chance to function well. That's what intermittent fasting is about, is letting your pancreas have a rest so that it's not always needing to produce insulin. And so it was interesting to watch the Fat Fiction. We enjoy watching those types of like food documentaries or brain documentaries, like those types of things.
It's always good to know how your body works, or how it's supposed to work, maybe.
And so it was just interesting. We've seen my mom has done Atkins in the past and has been helped by it. And so it's just good to see different ways that people eat and doctors think about food.
Yeah, so that's part of what we've been doing is, looking at what brings on my symptoms, and is it possible to avoid certain things, and how do we eat, and how can, what are these other foods and supplements, what are they going to cost? If you're spending $50 a month in supplements, would you be better off to spend $50 extra in your food budget to get better quality food? That's always something that we think about, and this is the time of year when you can get a lot more quality nutrition as far as vegetables anyway. Our garden is doing well. Virginia is like, we got it in late and we had a lot of issues, but now things are growing, and she's bringing in peas, and beans are coming up, and cucumbers are starting to grow, and zucchini are starting to grow. So getting in those good veggies is nice, and incorporating fresh raw veggies if we possibly can, because I'd rather eat them all raw anyway.
So for everyone who's watching, let us know what your favorite vegetable-rich meal is. One of the things that we like is, we call it cabbage stuff. I don't know exactly what it's called, but we cut up cabbage and onions and peppers and grated carrots. You can add a bunch of stuff to this, and we kind of saute them in a pan, and we'll use either Italian sausage or kielbasa or something like that as a meat additive to it. And then we'll serve it over rice for the little kids, because kids don't have the same problem with carbs that adults do. And so they have some rice with it, and we eat it just as the cabbage stuff, and it's a way we really like it. So let us know.
There's an almost 3-year-old, and so this little guy is 9 months old, and this little turkey is going to be 3 next month. So yeah, we got a couple of sleepers. So I don't know if you're new, but we have 8 children, 7 still at home, and a couple of little grandbabies. And when we talk about our family, we're usually talking about us and the 7 that are at home, because that's who we're feeding every day, and that's who we're doing homeschooling and our family discipleship and our worship times. Are mostly the 9 of us and Sarah's mom, who lives in a little house in the backyard. In a house.
So we're really close with my mom. She's actually gone for the next couple days visiting a friend. But we have at home a 17-year-old girl, a 13-year-old girl, a 10-year-old boy, an 8-year-old boy who has CP and epilepsy. So if you see our videos on disability, they're about
therapy
him.
and dystonia. Yep.
We have a 5-year-old girl, almost 3-year-old boy, and a 9-month-old boy.
So something that I notice with, like, people often say, oh, you like vegetables, why don't you eat salad? Well, we do eat a lot of salads. I have another issue, which isn't neurological. It's due to poor care of myself and another genetic condition we have. Raw mushrooms. Okay. Anyway, I can't eat many foods. I have 8 teeth here on the bottom and the front, and those are the only teeth in my head. I've had 17 abscesses, infections in my teeth due to a condition where instead of the enamel fully forming, it's missing minerals, and they more like chalk. So if I hit something too hard, pieces of teeth flake off, and that's not a good thing. And generally, our children haven't had it with their adult teeth, but even their baby teeth tend to have it a bit. She has perfect teeth, me not so much. So anyway, so I have to use this is my chewing finger. I have to, so when I eat a carrot or even peas, this sounds so strange to have to explain. Angela's seen it for many years now, since I was 25, so 20 years ago. I had all those teeth taken out except for these 8. So I chew with my fingers. So all of those things that we're thinking about, like, oh, I eat a cucumber, I eat it with my fingers, pressing against my teeth. I have to eat peas and carrots and like pretty much anything that isn't soft and pre-chewed ends up with my fingers stuck in my mouth. Maybe that's what's wrong with me.
Which is a little hard to tell the kids to keep their fingers out of their mouth when they're eating. You know, you can't eat that with your fingers when daddy's over there.
I can't help it.
Angela, you can keep your beets. Beets taste like dirt to me.
I like beets.
I don't.
Well, I like pickled beets. I'm not much on raw beets. I'm much more on the pickled beets end of things. But I'm thinking the audio is turning out well. You guys don't realize we have an overhead fan and we have a big box fan
It sounds
blasting.
very loud in this room.
It sounds loud in this room, but if you guys can hear us, we're using a mic, which we bought because we know we have audio problems because we have 7 kids in the house. We're all really loud. So, hold on.
I have a number 10 can. You know, one of those big cans of beets here, Angela. If it wasn't too expensive, I'd send it to you because I don't know what to do with it.
Makes a nice doorstop. It makes a nice doorstop.
I could use it for a doorstop. What a great idea.
Well, we could just do pickled beets. We can make more pickled beets. I like them.
We could. Then you can eat it with your finger. Your finger will be all red.
Red fingers.
So we have issues with trying to figure out how best to get the nutrition into Mark, but we are looking into those different things. So, yeah.
Just puree everything and drink it.
We could do that.
We have a Vitamix. Actually, somebody bought us a Vitamix, or one fell off of a truck at some point, and was delivered to our home in good working condition, so that I could drink my food. And as palatable as that sounds, it's really not as much fun as you might think to try to drink everything that you eat.
We do smoothies and stuff like that.
We do a lot. Yeah.
But he doesn't want to drink lasagna or,
drinking lasagna. I can chew
burger.
lasagna.
Just drink some burger. Here you go. Do you add ketchup to the smoothie at that point? Or
I always wondered about condiments. Like, if you're going to blend up your burger, do you add ketchup? I don't like mustard or stuff like that, but I do like ketchup.
pickles? Gonna add pickles to it. Here's your pickle puree.
So what are we going to talk about today? We're 18 minutes in, and we're done.
You said you wanted to talk about diet, so there you go.
Okay, we're talking about diet.
So, yeah, we're trying to figure out. We know the kids need certain nutrients also, so we're trying to make sure that we're giving them the nutrients that they need or that they can eat, their bodies can process correctly, and also do all of it on a very limited budget.
Our food budget is $500 a month. Our total budget, our total income is about $1,600 a month. So rent is like $750 and food's like $500. So you can do the math on that one. So it's not like we're just deciding, hey, I'd really rather have this than
right.
Than
it's not,
I
want a big screen TV, so we're going to buy all the cheapest food we can. Yeah. We need to buy fairly cheap food. So like we buy things on sale. So this week, chicken was $1.99 a pound for chicken tenders. Sometimes we'll buy whole chickens, but I don't know if you know, but it's hot. And in the summer, it's a little harder to be baking all the time. In the winter, we do a lot of turkeys or
soups
whole
and stocks.
Well, I was just thinking whole chickens and things like that, but those are they take so long in the oven and just makes the house so warm.
It does. Naomi made some sweet potato muffins for a gathering tomorrow with some Christians that we're friends with. So we're getting together tomorrow afternoon, and we always have a meal together. So she likes to make the dessert. We usually Mommy will make lunch, something to bring along for lunch. But Naomi really thrives on desserts. I think she likes to spoil people. I think that's what it is. So she made some sweet potato muffins, and they're very good, actually.
We were given 2 cans of sweet potatoes
Yep.
that were in sugar. We don't buy sweet potatoes. Actually, I think they were yams, which I don't know if there's technically a difference.
I think they're the same thing.
But anyway, they were like sugar water.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Southern style. That's what you guys do down south. I don't know why.
They put
But
sugar in everything.
We weren't sure.
Hey, here's a gallon of sweet tea. Let's put 17 cups of sugar in.
We weren't sure exactly what to do with the muffins. With the sweet potatoes. But we looked up and we found a sweet potato muffin recipe, and it had dried cranberries and molasses. No, not molasses. Maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Yep.
And all kinds of yummy stuff. They
Yeah.
came out really good. We had one, but it made the house hot.
Yeah.
Cooking.
So if anybody's watching and you guys are actually doing a high-fat, low-carb diet, I want to hear about it. I want you to tell me, 1, does it work for you? And then 2, do you like it? I'm all for fat. Like, I'll eat bacon, and I'm sure that's probably not the best fat in the world.
Yeah,
I like avocado.
I don't
like
think the high
coconut oil. I like not the fatty fat.
I don't think the high fat diet is bacon every meal. I don't
Bacon.
think that's.
But I like bacon.
I know.
Can I have it every meal? What if I ask really nice?
Okay.
Would that make it more healthy?
No.
Oh.
Maybe if you puree it would be more.
It's also kind of expensive. Bacon is not the cheapest meat on earth.
No.
Not the most expensive either. But so we do have a lot of coconut oil, and we have
Olive oil
and
butter.
butter.
We don't usually cook with other oils. If you saw the $75 low spend challenge that we did at the end of February, that was we used vegetable oil for that week because it was cheaper. But that was the only week we used it. So,
Deborah, you and I need to become friends. Definitely. We lost over 100 pounds, and I'd like to know what keto on the cheap looks like.
and you have children.
Yeah, and
Like,
you have
are
children.
you feeding children on that keto on the cheap?
Because there's
Hey,
always
I like all this coconut oil. All
yeah, we have all of those things. Yeah, that's part of the question. Is we don't want to make multiple meals for everyone, but sometimes we do. Okay, they're all having a salad. I'm going to throw in some chicken because I need protein and I like meat. Trying to find the best way to get those good fats, quality protein sources without. We live in Maine, which you would think would be a place where you could eat fairly cheap. So we have Walmart, which is about 2 miles down the road. We have a Hannaford, which is a larger chain, and a Shaw's here in town. Beyond that, it's the high-end, all organic, grass-fed beef. We change their babies' diapers all the day long. Our cows' diapers and all that.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Those kind of we had friends that we used to spend a lot of time with, and they ate everything organic and everything whatever, but they spent, I think, our entire monthly income on food, which is great if you have it, but we don't. So we're trying to find a way to make wise choices with the dollars we do have.
And that's not to say that God does not provide, because God definitely provides for us, and we just want to make sure that we are feeding our family as well as we can on the money God has provided. But God knows what we are able to afford, and He's not going to leave us lacking. So for Deborah, do you have a YouTube channel? I'm asking you to please put your YouTube channel in the comments if you have one, so the rest of us can see how to do this keto on the cheap way.
Or if you have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because we're all encouraged, yeah.
So
We're feeding 4 on about $200 a month. Where do you live?
can we come visit you?
Usually people come to us because we're the ones that save all kinds of money and eat really well and all that kind of stuff. But we are not, evidently, the king and queen of this.
No, Deborah's got this.
Wow, you got this. Yeah, I think you should start making videos on YouTube.
Do you shop at
If you
Sprouts, Deborah? I love Sprouts.
Mm.
Sprouts and Aldi's are in the South. I like those.
There is no Aldi in the state of Maine, and there's no Sprouts anywhere near the state of Maine. There's not a lot of anything. There's a Trader Joe's about 2 hours from here, and what else? I think it's the Whole Foods down there
Yeah,
too.
there's a Whole Foods down there.
But that's about it. Like we really would have to travel quite a ways. When we used to travel, because we used to live in a camper and travel around and work with churches all over the country doing evangelism, and that's where we discovered Sprouts, and that's where we discovered Aldi as well. And we really enjoyed those stores. They had good quality stuff, and the prices were decent. And if you kept an eye out on things, you don't have a Trader Joe's in Tampa, seriously? I thought there was one down there. No, I
don't know.
We shopped at Aldi the whole time we were down there anyway. So we spent, a month and a half, almost 2 months between Maine and Florida this past winter. And we spent an awful lot of time at the Aldi down on Florida Ave, North Florida Ave, I think. So on that side of town near you guys. We were thinking about going to Texas at some point, though. We'd love to spend a couple of months in Texas when it's not hot. So if there is a time of year when it's not hot,
Deborah,
in
what
Texas,
time is the time of year to come for not hot?
January. That's probably it.
So
Kroger. See, we don't have a Kroger anywhere in the state of Maine either. Like a lot of these.
We don't have local Hispanic stores either.
Yeah, I think it's because partially we live in Maine. Thank you. It's because we live in Maine that we are at the farther northeasternmost tip of the United States. Nothing travels through here, so everything costs more. And because we have like a 67-day growing season in the state, we also don't have a lot of stuff that's grown in this area. We grow potatoes, which probably aren't great on that whole keto diet.
Carrots.
And yeah, carrots.
Turnips.
Yeah, that's about it. And we don't grow much commercially here. And there's the expense of trucking to another large section. We've also noticed in Maine, hey, this Heidi. So here in Maine, we don't have, what was I going to say we don't have?
I don't know.
This is life with my brain, okay? I have no idea what I'm even thinking some days. But so we don't have access to a lot of the, Aldi and those kind of things. They're just not here. They're not here.
We do have Walmart, though.
And we do have
like
blueberries.
Walmart. Oh, yes, we have blueberries.
We
High
buy
in antioxidants.
30-pound boxes of frozen blueberries that are right here from Maine for $61. So that's about $2.03 a pound. Frozen blueberries we got, and I like them. You like them?
They're
She
not.
likes them. I love them. And they're really good for you.
And the doctor told him he has to limit himself to less than 5 pounds a day.
5 pounds of blueberries sounds like my kind of. That would probably do something to your. Yeah, I'll just leave that.
Blueberries, though, are very high in antioxidants, and they're lower on the sugar index than a lot of fruits.
Until you put sugar on them.
Well, yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't put sugar on.
So we have this way.
What?
There's a little one waking up back there.
Uh-oh.
So.
Yeah. Who's those even?
Yeah. So when you're ready, we'll see your brother.
Uriah will go back to sleep 2 or 3 times
So
if
we
we
don't
leave him
know.
alone. He takes about 20 minutes, half an hour to actually wake up.
So
Sorry,
anyway,
I'll shut up.
it's kind of hard to shop in Maine just because we don't have the deals that I've seen other places. I would love to have some of those stores available that they have down there. And I know that where there are larger larger ethnic populations, that's the word I was looking for, they have those markets. I know Portland, which is about 2 hours from here, has a lot of like Asian food markets and Middle Eastern food markets where you can get stuff really, really cheap.
Like
and even
camel?
the Hispanic.
Like camel meat. I've never had camel meat, but it sounds good. I don't know. I think meat. I'd eat one.
And I know that those places are really cheap because we've shopped at those places around the country. But if we're in Portland, it's usually on a Sunday to go to church with friends.
Right.
And as a family, we don't shop on Sundays. So we don't take advantage of those deals on the days that we're down there because we're not usually in town on another day of the week.
Because we really like to have Sundays as a day to rest. We spend the day in not cooking and reading our Bibles and singing songs together and being together as a family and being with other Christians, whether it's church services or going out for, not going out for a meal, but going to someone's home and having a meal together, which this whole coronavirus thing makes that even more difficult than it ever has been before. So it's interesting to see how we adapt to our circumstances. But the things that are cheaper here tend to be
There you
things
go.
that we're probably not supposed to eat. In
I
this.
gotta take the little boy. I'll be right back.
Don't land on your brother. One's still sleeping, one running away. Yes, Sunday is definitely our day that we. I think we've done a few videos on that specifically. That whole idea of taking a day to rest, to take a day that we're not working, we're not encouraging other people to work, we're not running to the store or trying to make things happen in all these different places. We try to just rest together and be with other Christians and encourage them. That's definitely why we do this on Saturday, because Saturday is a day when we get a lot of stuff done if we possibly can. And then Sunday we can rest.
And we are very thankful for those people who do work on Sundays. You know, I had to call the doctor on Sunday when we realized that Josiah had an abscessed tooth to figure out what we were supposed to do. My mom is an operating room nurse, and if I needed an operation on Sunday, I would be very thankful for the person that's there. And my dad also used to work as a dispatcher for fire and ambulance. Definitely a job that needs to be done on Sundays. So it's not a hard and fast rule of no work on Sunday. For our family, we do not have the type of job that needs to be done on Sunday. So we try not to do a bunch of extra work on Sunday.
Yeah.
He works at church. I guess you're only open on Sunday.
I think you get a pass on that one. I'm not sure. I used to work every Sunday when I was preaching every Sunday, but not doing that anymore. So yeah, and for us, when we were in full-time ministry and we were teaching, or I was teaching and speaking at different places, Sunday was our seemingly chaotic day. It was so busy, and it was hard to ever rest. Because for anybody that's working at a church or ministers in different ways, you know that there's always a need. There's always somebody that needs you for something. There's always a prayer request. There's always someone that needs a ride. There's always someone that needs help. There's always someone that needs counsel. So we ended up taking Mondays back then. Now Monday is kind of our catch-up day where we run back through and do laundry and run back through and do all that stuff.
Yeah, we usually do more school Tuesday through Saturday. Saturday is hit or miss between while we're getting ready for Sunday. And then Monday is usually a day where till about noon we're, doing laundry, catching up on sweeping and making beds and all the stuff that didn't get done the day before that just needs a little extra work. And just for anybody who's watching our video, this little guy does know how to roll over, and he doesn't usually sleep face down, but that's where he slept today because we're here and watching him. So,
and he planted himself there. So when you plant yourself there and you're being closely observed, there's always somebody wondering, this is a bad thing. Your child can't sleep that way. And those rules change about every time we go to the doctor. Every
each
time.
new baby, there's new rules.
They have to be sleeping on their back. No, they have to be sleeping on their front. No, they have to be standing up.
We'll just hook them to the wall like an astronaut.
Right. No, that's not good.
So
what are we talking about?
we've been talking about stuff.
Stuff for like 30 some odd minutes. Wow, that's pretty good.
So we have, if people have been watching, we've recently been doing some food storage stuff downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely will take into account when we're deciding what we're going to be doing diet-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still looking for deals for sales and stuff that are coming up. I know that hamburger is on sale for us this week. It's $3.49, which isn't a great price, but I haven't seen that price in months now. So yeah. I'll be buying some hamburger. I don't know if there's a limit. I hope there's not, or I might go a couple times.
I've heard that the coronavirus thing, people stopped having animals and then they slaughtered a bunch and then they wasted a bunch. And I've heard a lot of different stories. So I'm not really sure. All I know is the prices are higher. So, but you were talking about downstairs. We've done a lot of work downstairs. We've been enjoying that.
We'll have to do a new video downstairs.
We do, yeah. So downstairs has always just been our storage. That's pretty high. That's as low as it's been in 3 or 4 months at least.
Yeah.
So again, Maine, that's another thing that a lot of states don't seem to have. We have the Maine Dairy Board, so there's legal limits. You can't sell milk for less than,
it's like $3.83.
$3.83 right now. It's usually between $3.50 and $4, but it's set by the Maine Milk Commission. So you cannot sell milk in the state of Maine for less than that price per gallon. It's illegal to do so. So when we were out in Ohio, we got, a gallon of chocolate milk for 99 cents or a gallon of milk for 99 cents and eggs for 45 cents a dozen or something like that. That's never happened here. No, it just doesn't happen.
We actually, eggs will be 49 cents. You can get a limit of 2 at our local store this week. I think it's
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that doesn't usually happen.
But they can't do that on milk. They can have a deal where you buy 3 boxes of cereal and you get a free gallon of milk. They can give it away for free, but they can't sell it for $2.50 a gallon.
Also,
I don't know why.
I've watched a lot of grocery hauls from people in other states and everything, and they have a Kroger, I think that was mentioned here, that have the woohoo deals or whatever they call them that are really, really good. Our sales are not that good. When I go into the store and I find meat marked down, it might be 30% off, but the original price was $6 a pound anyway. So 30% off isn't a great deal. I was watching a video today by the Beals. The Fundamental Home is what it used to be. And she found, I haven't even watched the end of the video. She said the best deals are at the end of the video. So I don't even know what those are. But she found hamburger, a 3-pound chub for $1.50 for the whole chub.
50 cents a pound.
Yeah.
Meat.
Yeah. We don't have things like that around here. I loved when we were out of state. And
if we did, that $500 would get me a lot more meat. And she buys me meat. Not that she doesn't buy me meat or buy us meat, but I really like meat. The price makes it very difficult to put that in your diet on a regular basis.
The other day we had a little bit of meat at each meal. I had gotten some Canadian bacon from my sister, and then I forget what we had, but every meal had a little bit of meat in it. And Mark's like, "What did I do to deserve this?"
We usually have meat once a day, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But,
we get plenty of protein. We do eat nuts, and we eat beans. We eat cheese and yogurt.
We actually did a big stock up on nuts. We've been trying to refill things downstairs that had been shrunk. We ate through a lot of our stores before we went to Florida in January, February, and then when we got home, the end of February, the whole coronavirus thing started getting weird.
Low spend.
Yeah, we did the 1 week of low spend where we were just eating dirt cheap, $75 for our family of 9 in Maine is really, really cheap. Although when we were in Florida, we spent less money on food staying in our camper where we
weren't cooking. Yeah,
we weren't cooking. We were doing a lot more short preparations, putting sandwiches together and things like that. And we spent less money than we would have had we been here, even on more convenience type food that we're not used to eating. Sorry. I kicked the microphone. Sorry, guys.
So we ate the 1 week on the low spend, and then coronavirus hit, and so everything has been limited of what you could buy. I have friend Heidi who got us some flour when we were desperately needing it because we were so out of flour, and making a lot of our own bread and everything had used up our stores. But a lot of things are still limited on two items, especially for sales stuff and whatever. So hopefully, I've seen other places in the country are getting away from that. I haven't been in the store recently. I've been doing a lot of Walmart pickup because it just keeps me out of the store, and it's easier for our family because me going to the store means somebody has to be watching all the kids. And when you have a nursing baby who stays home while you drive into town, I really have to time that well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so I was thinking about downstairs. So downstairs used to be just a food storage place, which we're building that back up now to some extent. And we've moved some things around. We moved the freezers. We moved some shelves. And in the process of that, the reason we did that is because we wanted to have more opportunity for therapy. We have 1,400 square feet up in it's a single level ranch modular house. So, but we have a full basement down below, and that's just been kind of food storage and not much used space. So we moved some things down there. We have a lot of storage still down there, but we cleaned up a lot. I built a pickler triangle for the kids to climb on, and we found some cool kind of therapy and younger kids play items, and bought some of those cool colored mats on the floor in one corner. And then we installed Josiah's, the therapy swing that I built a couple of years ago is down there. It's like a platform swing. And then we recently bought him that hammock type therapy swing. So those two are now both permanently mounted downstairs. So we can go down there and cool off and do therapy. And while some are doing therapy and the little ones are playing, we also have like a old dining room table that's down there with some chairs around it. So then we have coloring and things like that that people can work on for crafts. And then nearby that we had a TV that somebody gave us. We didn't know what we were going to do with it, so we stuck it downstairs. Turns out we put on our DVD player and VHS player attached to that, so we can watch like.
The kids watched one of our DVDs the other day. That's like a little preschool. While I was able to cut their hair. Yeah. So mommy did haircuts downstairs where it was cool, and we were able to get all their hair cut while they were sitting there watching a video. And some people were swinging on swings, and some people were climbing in the play area. So that's kind of developed now into a pretty decent area. And Samuel and I went down yesterday and did some sweeping and some cleaning, and we got some of the trash out. And then some friends, we had been storing a bunch of furniture down there, and we donated a lot of that to a young couple who just got married a couple months ago. And so we were able to donate some of that old furniture and use some of the other furniture the way we've set it up. So it's pretty nice down there. This week we're taking the pinball machine that was my grandpa's. My grandpa got a pinball machine for his retirement, or 50, whatever it was. He got a pinball machine instead of a gold watch.
Yep.
And so my sister is taking that, so we're going to drive that up to her this week. So we're just cleaning out the stuff that we don't need and the stuff that we're keeping. Like we have a couple family items, like bed frames that we're not currently using, but want to keep because they're family items. So we have those now in storage rather than just getting down to the basement and then just sitting there.
Right. So there's
trying to reorganize.
Yeah. So there's a little bedroom we made years ago. I can't remember how many years ago, at least 10 years ago, I would think. This is her parents' house. So her parents have been in this house for 18 years. We've been in the last 5 of that. So we had built that bedroom for one of their teenagers, I think, years ago. So there's that bedroom that's all insulated and cordoned off and the door closes. So that's what we're using for all that excess storage stuff and utility kind of deals now, and moving all that stuff in there so that the rest of the basement is kind of open so that we can do therapies. We can do just whatever we want to do down there where it's cooler. And yet we're sitting up here where it's hot.
We're still trying to figure that out. But it's one of those, when something is out of sight, it's out of mind. And we haven't been using that place. So I have to put it into my head every day of we need to go down to the basement. I think it'll be something that will be used daily once we remember to use it.
Yeah, things have been in turmoil here anyway the last couple of months with coronavirus and grandbabies being born and issues with me, Josiah's seizures, changes in medications, just finishing up a homeschool year in the middle of things being very weird. And then we've been home a lot, but we haven't, it seems like we haven't been able to get into a regular routine because of all the other outside things that are happening. So yeah, I think we're still working on that, but we're getting there. Yeah.
So Heidi said there's still some stuff that they have trouble keeping in stock.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Like 18-inch bicycle tires.
Yes. Bicycle tires have been out. Josiah got a bike for his birthday.
Heidi and
from the next size
another friend are our heroes.
Yes. They got a bike. He has been so excited to ride it. And now it's been ridiculously hot. So maybe tonight after the sun creeps down under the trees.
That'd be nice.
Get right out and ride. Because it's been so hot. But what about I've also been stocking up on some just health and beauty products because just not being able to get to the stores as often as everything has made me realize, feminine products and bars of soap and shampoo and conditioner and just those things that I tend to forget that we need until it's like, oh, we're out of that. Let's run to Walmart. Well, instead of having to make a run in, I'm doing it through the grocery pickup. So that way we have that.
Definitely appreciating the pickup option. That's been huge for us. It's so hard to get all of us in the store, or Sarah's very hard for her to leave because there's a lot of kids. And because of my issues, I don't stay at home alone with the kids. Like I can help out with a lot of stuff. but it's just not wise to be home alone with the kids. So, I mean, we have a 17-year-old who can drive and helps. So a lot of times her and I will go do the pickup or we'll run out and do errands.
Well, and the pickup's great because the kids like to go for a ride. So they all get in the car.
And they see human beings.
They love some of the, I mean, they wish they could go in the store to see Heidi and Laura and some of, they like at Shaw's, they have favorite workers also. But at Walmart, they like that the person comes and talks to them as they put stuff in the car. Calasandra is one of their favorite pickup workers. So, it's been good. But it's warm.
Sorry, it's just really hot here. It's like 85 and we're all dying.
But we're gonna what was I gonna say? This week we're gonna go to Bangor so we can do our 2 appointments.
That's 2 hours drive as well.
Yeah. We were talking about possibly going out. Our camper is parked up at Mark's mom's house since we've been doing trips up there. But going up there and unusual sleep patterns and all that stuff can make Josiah's seizures worse. Which, I mean, not that that's ever good, but with having to go get a tooth pulled also, we don't want him to be even worse going into that appointment. So if anyone wants to pray on Tuesday that Josiah will have an easy day and we'll be able to get that tooth pulled so that it won't cause any more problems, that would be great.
Yeah, his seizures haven't been terrible lately, but difficult circumstances, new things like stress makes it harder on his brain. Even the heat has bothered Josiah. He's had more seizures this week than on your average week. He seems to have a harder time controlling just his emotions, and all of that's attached to the heat and the lack of sleep and all that kind of stuff.
It's hard to sleep when you're hot.
It is. It's hard for us to sleep when we're hot. But it's, so it's been a unique week, but so, definitely praying that Josiah has a good visit with this dentist. It's a new dentist who understands his cerebral palsy and his epilepsy. Sarah's going to be able to go in with him so that they could see seizures before they happen. Hopefully that would, but it's still entirely possible to have a seizure right there on the table.
I usually know when his seizures are coming. So Mark told me this morning I'm like an epilepsy dog. I see them before they come.
Yeah, what we were talking about, that was something that, hey, look. Hey, little person. What are you doing, little
What is that face?
What's that face all about?
Coming over to see.
Hey, I see a camera. He likes to be on the camera.
Coming up.
When he's
He's like, I'm just going to go back.
I'm still half asleep. Are you still half asleep?
You want to see everybody?
Hello.
See us?
Hi. Hello. You're that baby.
He's so happy. He's like, I don't know if I'm happy or not. So, go ahead. You were talking about our seizures, epilepsy dogs.
No, I was just thinking, oh, yes, the epilepsy. I called my wife an epilepsy dog this morning. Not really, but close. We were just talking about, because of technology, like, instead of watching how we feel in our bodies and wondering if our sugar is spiking or insulin is plummeting or those kind of things, we rely on electronic devices to tell us that.
And Angela does because Angela has diabetes. So we're not talking about you, Angela. We're just talking about in general.
So I was just saying, like, regular healthy people, like, a lot of times we don't think about what's going on around us because we have TVs and air conditioners and all this kind of technology going on. And we have noises and we have noisy people. And we have all that stuff that can distract us. But we are trying to focus on our family and our children and the things that matter most. Now, obviously, we're still on the internet. We still have internet in our home. We still are on Facebook. And we're obviously still broadcasting on YouTube. But we've really enjoyed when we shut things off, when we go away for a couple of days, and when we have the chance to just rest together and maybe read a book or just sit and talk. A lot of times in the camper, the kids are going off to sleep, and Sarah and I will just sit there and talk, instead of, well, let's read a book, instead of let's watch a movie together and then we'll talk, or listening to something. I'm one that for years used to listen to something to go to sleep, and I felt like I couldn't go to sleep unless there was music playing in the background. We don't do that as much anymore. since Josiah's seizure, it's pretty quiet around here at night because
I want to be able to hear him.
we're all just sitting around listening to hear him breathe or his swallowing, his teeth grinding, and things. All those seizure kind of triggers that we're always looking at. But to be able to tune out of the things that are going on around us and focus on what's important, it's like years ago. It's funny. We watch our home videos, and we watch these home videos, and a lot of them, the TV is blaring in the background, and you can barely hear us talking. And we realized, I don't even remember watching TV. And then we hear what's on the TV, and you're like, I don't think we watched that show. And I think we just turned it on and let it go. And a lot of people do that. It just becomes background noise. But when I shut that background noise off, I can think more clearly, and I can hear better, and I can concentrate better, especially for me. I'm a one-track mind kind of person. This neurologic issue has made me, I mean, it used to be a CNA where I would have 6 or 8 patients up and down the hallway, you know, showers and bathrooms and dressing and, you know, all these different people's needs and keeping all their schedules in my head. And I used to be able to do all that. And now I'll lose track of my own conversation in the middle of it. If I'm just talking like right now, I don't remember where I was going with that. But, oh yes, shutting things down. So being able to kind of put aside the things of the world and just go for a walk, and don't even take your phone with you.
What?
So
you can do that?
You can do that. You can go for a walk without knowing the temperature outside from Google.
Well, I was going to say, how many times do you do that? Like, well, I wonder if it's hot outside. And instead of stepping out the door, you go to your phone and say, I wonder what the temperature is.
And we all do. I do it.
I
just did it on this video, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder how hot it is. You know what? It's hot outside. I don't need a number to know that it's hot outside, and I'm very uncomfortable. But we also noticed where it has been hot, we had the air conditioner going, and then we don't have central air, so it's like a window kind of unit. It's kind of loud. And these box fans that evidently aren't being picked up on the microphone, which is great. We got a box fan running, an overhead fan running. All those things are constantly making noise and raising the level. It's what they call sound construction. Like, it's building more and more and more noise. So you find, well, now I'm talking louder, and now my voice seems strained, and now I'm hearing things seem really, really loud. We were listening to something the other day.
Music. We had music on the other day.
Yes, we had music on the other day. And we were all sitting around trying to listen to music, and I was like, oh, it sounds really tinny, really distorted. Could you turn it down a little bit because it's too distorted? Well, the fan and the air conditioner was so loud that we had it cranked up to like 90% instead of the normal 50%. So when we shut the noise blinkers off, then it was much quieter, and all of a sudden we can hear it, and it's not too much strain on the ears. And just that kind of thing. Even sitting here looking at the screen can overload my brain for a period of time.
Or knock you over again.
Or not looking at the screen could overload my brain. But anyway.
A lot of things can overwhelm Mark, but we were just talking about how many things could we, like with the epilepsy dog, if animals can sense when someone's going to have a seizure, do we have that same innate ability that we could harness if we were actually paying attention? Like somebody who is blind harnesses their sense of sound, like their sense of hearing and their sense of touch and everything, so that they can relate to the world around them. How much more could we do that if we were able to set down our phones and turn off the noise of the world around us and just focus? And I wasn't even going to go this direction, but I was actually talking to a friend earlier this week, and she was just talking about her little one, who's about a little younger than Malachi, and just how she feels people are pressuring her that she should not, you can name the thing. You should stop breastfeeding. You should stop co-sleeping. You should stop whatever the thing is, because that's what the societal norms are. And if we can turn off what the world is saying to us and actually get into God's word and see what he says. I know that not everything is clearly laid out. Like, God does not say at 2 years old, you must stop nursing. I know that's not there. But if we looked at what we're supposed to be accomplishing with those things that God has given us, and not just look to what society says is the norm.
No, definitely. We've talked about that a lot this week. And it appears in churches. It appears in how we we educate our children at home. I don't like the word homeschooler because that implies that we're trying to do what schools do here. We educate our children at home. We disciple our own children.
Home education.
Home education.
Got home on the back of your head. Got book bag?
But why do we, whenever we talk to people that are not home educators that are thinking about it, especially there's a lot of them lately, people saying, I don't want to send my kids back to school wearing masks all day, so what do we do? And we want to homeschool. We got to deprogram a little bit. We always deal with this whenever we're talking to a family thinking about home education. Home education is not putting your kid at a desk in a classroom for 6.5 hours a day and giving ringing a bell every time you change subjects and needing a pass to go to the bathroom. That's not education. That's school. But why would our children think that they needed to sit at a desk to learn something? Our children, there's not a desk in this house except for the one that my milk crate and my laptop are sitting on to do this video. And I barely ever use this desk.
If you're interested in homeschooling, look up the term de-schooling, D-E schooling, getting out of school. It just talks about how important it is to turn off your brain from what you think school should look like and allow your child to realize that, filling out every workbook page is not the actual education that you're looking for.
Our kids learn reading books and they learn watching videos, but they also learn walking around outside and exploring different plants. And they learn from just sitting and having a conversation with us or with grandparents or with elderly people or with friends from church. Yeah, when we're allowed to do that kind of thing. Our children learn everywhere they go. Everywhere they are, they're learning something. And we also, as adults, we haven't stopped learning. We're learning more about history as we teach our children history. As we read the book aloud to the entire family, some of them are getting the whole subtleties of architecture and the meta-narratives of history. And some of them are just getting, hey, this is really cool because you mentioned that somebody had a sword. Kids are getting different things. They're picking up different things, but they're all learning. And they're learning together, and because they have those mutually shared experiences in learning, they're all kind of dealing with the same basic topics. But the idea that it's like when you go to church. When I say go to church, most people are going to think, I'm going to walk in a door wearing a certain kind of clothing, and I'm going to sit in a chair or a certain type of seating apparatus. And someone is going to stand on a stage behind a wooden something or possibly a glass something, and they're going to lecture me for 35 to 50 minutes. You didn't get that from your Bible. That not a single thing in there that I just mentioned is in the Bible. It didn't happen. Not that those things are evil, but they're not. When you read the word church in your Bible, you shouldn't get, I'm going to sit around being lectured for an hour. You just think, I'm coming together with other Christians to leave the things of the world behind so that I can get together with other Christians to worship God. We're going to sing. We're going to pray. People are going to teach. There's going to be prophecy. There's going to be possibly tongues and interpretation. That's probably a controversial one in some people. There's all these things that are going to happen that you see in 1 Corinthians 11, 12, 13, 14 that don't look like that. And I think homeschooling is very much, or home education is very much the same thing. People think when we say home education that it's all about books and it's all about my child has to know Latin and by 3rd grade. If you want to do Latin, go ahead and do Latin. Nothing in your Bible tells you have to learn Latin either. We teach mathematics, we teach science, we teach history, we teach all these things, but we teach them in the context of God's word. We teach them through the Christian worldview. And they learn by watching mommy and daddy discuss these things. They learn by how we deal with what is the right thing to think and to do about coronavirus and churches meeting. What are the legal ramifications for churches that meet against the government order? Should they not? I'm not going to answer those questions right here, but to say what we don't do is go look to a book and some authority to tell us. There was a big name preacher that came out this week with a statement about what their church is going to do. And that's great. And that's good. but that doesn't govern my family because those are not the elders of my church. Those are not the people that God has placed in authority over me. And a public school is not the people that God has placed in authority over your children either. Your children are given to you as a gift from God, as a responsibility for you to teach, to train them in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, to disciple them, to love them, to teach them, to enjoy them, to want to be with them. And a lot of people really don't see family that way. And I think that's why our channel is considered a little radical at times, because we live differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because we reject societal norms and try to look at what has God told us that we should do with our lives.
Yes. And also another thing we've been talking this week regarding education is the idea of not just filling out the worksheet, but actually, so we were watching this video, Smarter Every Day, Destin Sandlin. He was talking about battle strategies, actually.
He was talking about the future of war. If you go to Smarter Every Day, I'll try to put a link in the bottom. Smarter Every Day, and I think they called The Future of War, about multi-domain operations. That sounds really not family-friendly. It's amazing.
So anyway, we're watching it, and it was talking about how you have to work, like the Army needs to work with the Navy, and they all need to work together. But the part I'm talking about, they were discussing how they're trying to teach soldiers now is instead of saying, I need you to do steps, this, and this, so we can get here. They say, we need the goal, like the outcome needs to be this, and we need you to do it. And having them work through problem solving. So instead of your kid knowing that 3 apples that I have plus the 2 apples you have is 5 apples, they know that 3 plus 2 always equals 5. Because we've seen kids who, no matter whether it's homeschooled or public school, but we've seen kids who can't think outside of the box they've been taught in.
Right. They would say 3 apples plus 2 apples equals 5 apples. So 3 oranges plus 2 oranges. I have no idea how many that is.
Right.
Because it's so, we've got to make it so specific that they don't have to think anymore.
Right. So
it's like we were talking about autonomous vehicles. Is the same way. An autonomous vehicle, you have to program every single scenario into that car for it to work right. A computer cannot think on its own. As much as we want to talk about artificial intelligence, they can't think on their own. They can go through diverse strategies that are programmed into it, into their algorithm and all the data that they have, but that's all they can do. If they bump across a clown standing in a crosswalk, they might run over him because they've never seen a clown in a crosswalk and they don't recognize that as a person, or somebody in a costume. They might not recognize that as a person and run that person over because they don't know how to deal with it. We don't need to teach our children that way.
Right. And so it also works because we try to teach our children to do things here at the house, cooking, cleaning, all of those things. And we want them to understand that when I come to a problem, it's okay to ask mommy and daddy. I'm not saying it's not. But sometimes when they ask us, we'll say, well, what do you think should be done? How would you do this? And sometimes they need the direction because they don't know how to accomplish the goal. But sometimes it's, so mommy, we don't have any more butter. Okay, well, what would you use in place of butter? And they can give me the list of suggestions. And okay, those are all good suggestions. If I say, okay, we don't have butter, and they say, so should I put in almonds? No. Let's think through this, and explain why we do what we do. But rather than teaching them a step-by-step, here's how this happens, explaining why you do things. And I know for myself, I need to remind myself to do that. And I can't remember what it was that I did the other day. I did something the other day that when I did it, I was like, oh, I remember. I was going to fry some chicken up in a pan. And I don't. Heidi says hi. She's watching us. Can you wave?
Hi.
So I was gonna cook up some chicken in a pan, like pan fry it, and we don't normally do that. So the girls were standing there in the kitchen cutting up the salad, and I said to them, didn't really matter to them at the moment because they weren't doing it, but I said to them that we were going to use coconut oil instead of olive oil because olive oil has a lower smoking point, so it would smoke at the temperature we were going to cook it at. And so just things like that, just helping them see how the world works around them so they can make those decisions when it comes time to do it rather than needing the step-by-step answers. And I think we do the same thing with the Bible. At some point, For those who have never heard Bodhi Baucham, he has a really good sermon, I guess you'd call it, on discipling children. I forget. We'll try to link it. But it's talking about how at the very young age, like 2 and 3 year olds, you teach them by like catechism questions, like repeat after me, or teaching them Bible verses.
Right, I'm going to give you the answers and you're going to repeat them and understand them. I'll explain them.
No, it's okay. So then, so it's give me your attention is the first part. And the second one is give me your heart. So like teaching them why we do what we do. And then the last one is give me your hand. Like, let's walk through this together. So when the teenager comes and says, okay, I'm dealing with this crisis, you know, this friend's being mean to me on the internet or whatever the situation is, talking, not telling them what to do, but talking them through, you know, what does the Bible say about this? Have you considered this passage? Those types of things, not telling them, okay, well, go tell your friend this.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I mean, and Virginia is one that after so many years of teaching her and walking along with her, and she ministers with us on the street, she ministers with us in our home, she ministers all over the place on the internet. She's actually got quite a bit of internet ministry going on along with writing a book. She's 17. She graduated high school. She's not a child anymore. I don't have to take her by the hand and say, oh, hey, you need to come over here right now. I don't have to do that.
I was like, what?
She doesn't require that because we've taught her to think. We've taught her critical thinking. We've taught her logic. We've taught her reasoning and science and the scientific method. And we've even taught her to spot the fallacies in what some people will say, well, science says this. Science doesn't say anything. It's fallacious to say that scientists say things, and this data is this. Interpretation of data is done through a worldview. We all do this.
We all know that with coronavirus, there are two sides using the exact same information to say two different things.
I can't remember who the statistician was that was talking about it. It was saying any statistics can be used to try to make any point on any side, basically. You can manipulate the numbers and only, that's actually something we were watching on that Fat Fiction video with Dr. Jason Fung. And I can't remember who the other guy was, the guy that actually did it. Mark Hyman, possibly?
Something like that. Yeah.
But he was saying there was this study, this huge study, the Missouri coronary study or something like that. And the people, they did intense data collection in a very controlled environment, very well managed and orchestrated and collected data. And it didn't give them the answers they wanted, so they didn't publish the study.
They hid it.
They hid the study for like 40 years. This was done in the 60s. Just came out, years and years later, where they had this really good data in a controlled environment with very limited variables. And then it didn't give them what they wanted. They wanted it to be this certain answer that would financially profit the people who were financing the study. And it didn't turn out the way they wanted to. So they just scrapped the whole thing and never told anybody about it. It didn't give them the data they wanted, or they could have just selectively taken data. There was something else where there was a study done in like 21 countries. And so instead of looking at all 21 countries and plotting things on a graph as to whatever it was, like fat intake and obesity rates or whatever it was, instead of plotting all 21 points, they only plotted the 7 that seemed to work on the curve.
I think it was only 6.
6 of the curve that they had already established that they wanted to prove. So data is a very interesting thing, but science doesn't say things. Scientists make conclusions, they make inferences, they make theories, but that's not, these are the facts. These are the group of facts that tend to agree with what I believe it should be. None of us are truly open-minded. We all like to think we are, but we're really not.
We're all looking at everything through a worldview.
We are, yeah. We don't like to see things that we disagree with. This is what happened, as we're reading the Gospel of John, we're in John 15 today, and in John chapters 10, 11, 12, you see the Jews and the rulers of the Jews, they watched Lazarus be raised from the dead. They were standing there when the tomb was sealed with a 4-day dead guy, and he walks out, and it says, some of them believed. And some of them decided that we were going to kill Jesus because we don't like what he's saying. We got to kill this Lazarus guy too. We're gonna hide the evidence by killing someone because what is happening in front of our eyes, we don't want anybody else to find out about. So we're gonna hide that data so that other people don't have access to it, because if they had access to it, they wouldn't be on our side anymore. This happens in politics. This happens in science. This happens. One field that would be really hard to do this with is mathematics, because there's not a lot of interpretation to mathematics, which is why mathematics proclaims the glory of God. If you don't believe that, Dr. Jason Lyle, watch his video on fractals and the Mandelbrot set. Genius stuff. Looking at the way that we can deceive ourselves when we have a preconceived notion and then we come to something, and it's very hard for us to overcome those presuppositions. Very hard. And I don't know what I was talking about from there.
Data being what you wanted to be. So anyway, we try to teach our kids to think. Think through what they're being taught.
Mm-hmm.
Does it agree with the study of the Bible that we do?
Mm-hmm. Even us, like, we encourage our children to challenge us. Once in a while, I'll say something like, I don't think the Bible ever says anything like this. Usually Naomi or Virginia, within 5 minutes, will be like, actually, I was just looking here, and it does give that detail. We do actually know that. Or, you said this, you must have misspoken because that. I encourage my children to challenge me respectfully and all that, but they come to me with truth. I shouldn't be so attached to my opinion that I don't want to hear truth. I want to hear truth.
That was something else we were talking about this week. We talk a lot in this house. Something else we were talking about this week is not knowing that you don't know something until it's pointed out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like thinking that you really know. So we were singing a song, and I really thought the word in the song was afraid. No question in my mind, the word was afraid. I have sang afraid for 7 or 8 years since we learned that song. I've sang afraid. That's the word I thought it was. So we were singing the other day, and I was doing something, so I wasn't singing along, and they said ashamed. I was like, that's not the word. What are you talking about? Looked it up. The word is ashamed. My word made sense. Like, when you look at the context of the song, it wasn't like I was totally off.
Right.
It wasn't like.
It wasn't like she was singing jelly beans or something.
Right. So the word totally made sense, but it wasn't.
It still wasn't right.
It wasn't right. Yeah. But you wouldn't have been able to tell me that I was wrong on that word because it made so much sense in my head, and I never even thought that word would be different. Mm. There was also a question. We're reading a book with the older girls about Joseph. It's right there, the Joseph book. But it says in there something about.
I'm not selling this. I'm just telling you it's a good book. We're reading it with the older girls.
It says something about Benjamin and his age.
Yeah.
And Mark's like, oh, I always assumed it was this. And then we looked it up and come to find out that there's some clues either way that he could be, could have been born before Joseph was kidnapped, or not kidnapped,
before
sold,
he had his dream,
or after.
Right.
And found out that Mark had one thought of what the dream interpreted meant, while I had a totally different thought. Like I never would have thought the thought Mark had, and he never would have thought my thought. So it wasn't.
But Joseph in the story. Joseph has there's like 11 people that are bowing down to him. This prophetic dream, and then the sun and moon, which would be his father and his mother. So I hear 11, and I think he's only got 10 brothers, so they must be talking about his sister Dinah, because she's mentioned in another passage. I think previous to that, she thought Benjamin must have been born because he's the 11th brother. So that makes total sense. Neither of these are perfectly delineated in the text. I can't say for certain that Benjamin was alive at this point or that Benjamin wasn't alive at this point, and neither can anybody else.
Yeah, we found a lot of...
Yeah. Major scholars, biblical textual scholars on both sides have said there's this clue and this understanding and this understanding, and it would seem to make sense to this, and here's the counter argument to that. But in the end, the Bible never says for certain how old Benjamin was, so we don't know. And that's okay. But I had this thought, oh, Benjamin, he's a young kid because he had to have been born after Joseph left. And she's like, assuming he must have been born before because of the dream and the interpretation. Neither one of us is wrong, funny enough, because we don't know for certain. if either of us is right or wrong.
Yeah, one of us has to be wrong.
Because there isn't enough information in the text to get that answer. But how many times do we jump to the conclusion we already have in our head without actually even looking at the text? Because I have to say, I had not looked at the text to discern whether there was absolute, here's the age when this happened. It just wasn't there. But a lot of times we try to assume those things. And at times, sadly, we can even be very ungracious towards others who hold a differing opinion, when indeed they may be right. But what we should be looking for isn't whether I'm right or you're right, but what's true. We've talked about truth on this, not today's live stream as much, but we've definitely had this topic in our heads before, that what we're interested in isn't what agrees with what we already believe, but what is true. And we just finished John chapter 15 yesterday, where chapter 14 yesterday, where Jesus explains, I am the truth. I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. He is the truth. He's God in the flesh, so he knows everything. And he's perfectly without sin, so he can't lie. So whatever he says is true. And he calls himself the truth, and he talks about the Spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit that would indwell his believers. And so all of that stuff, we can look at all the texts of the Bible, not just one passage, but looking at multiple texts of the Bible, a lot of times by multiple authors or multiple people quoting the same source, and we can come to a conclusion. But a lot of times we already have in our heads what we think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. But what we want is truth, because we want to know things.
But we don't like people telling us we're wrong.
I don't like anybody telling me I'm wrong. Usually because I'm not wrong. But sometimes I'm wrong. And sometimes she's right and I'm wrong.
I was gonna say
sometimes the kids are right and both of us were wrong. And we have to admit that and not be so prideful to think, I know everything and I've been around, when the whole fallacious or, the faulty appeal to authority kind of argument. I've been reading that book longer than you have, and I know more than you do, so you just sit down and shut up, whippersnapper. Not a very good attitude. Not for a parent, not for a leader in a church, not for anybody, really. Sometimes you know something because you've been there long enough and you actually do know that information, but sometimes you just made assumptions. So,
well, how many times as a parent did we walk in a room and we, see,
Uriah sitting on top, somebody sitting on top of somebody. And you're like, you shouldn't be sitting on your brother. It's like, well, actually, he pulled me down on top of him.
Right. Yeah, we think we come in the room thinking we know the scenario, and it's actually something different. And sometimes we're so set on, no, don't tell me what, actually, don't actually tell me the truth because I'm already correcting for this other thing.
Right.
And actually correcting the wrong person.
Yeah.
I know that happens here, and then I have to apologize that I'm sorry I didn't know all the details. And
that's right. We have to apologize to our children. Not a bad thing. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's hard to admit, but I think it's only because we're prideful. Yeah. We want people to see us as always right. But in truth, none of us are always right.
Well, and things happen, and we want people to give us grace when something happens, but we're really quick to not give other people grace when something happens. Like if one of the kids were to spill their milk, we'd be like, you need to be more careful. You need to do this. You need to do this. Well, when I spill milk, it's like, well, it just slipped out of my hand, and like make up all kinds of excuses for ourselves and why it's okay. You say hi to Tina. Hi. So we make up all kinds of excuses for ourselves on why it really wasn't our fault this thing happened. But when our kid does it, it's, well, you knew what you were doing was wrong, and you should have been more careful. And yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that probably happens more to me than anybody else in this house. That I assume things, or I thought I heard something, or I thought I saw something. But I was just wrong. And that's, yeah. I screw up a lot. We'll just say that. We all do.
But we tend to take that, we all do, to think, okay, well, that's fine. Now I can keep screwing up and not feel bad about it. No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that wasn't a
No, it's easier.
That's how you act.
It's easier to think that about yourself. And I know, especially because of my neurological problems, because of my memory problems, I have false memories. There are things that I think happened that I remember happening that did not happen. That other people were like, that actually never happened. It's not that I saw another detail. It's that it was wrong.
Yeah.
That's hard to admit. Like, oh, so when I said this, that actually wasn't true. Now I need to go back and tell somebody that that actually wasn't true. And that's very humbling. It'll straighten you out real quick. But
yeah.
We could sit and talk for probably about 6 hours at least. But we're over an hour and 20 minutes in, and I'm getting hot again.
Are you? It's very warm in this room. It's much nicer out there. When I went out there 20 minutes ago, it was very nice.
Okay.
So, Tina, we will see you soon.
Be prepared to carry a pinball machine.
And what are we doing this? We will see you guys next Saturday, I guess, if we don't have anything else.
Yeah, we should be here next Saturday at 2. Hopefully everybody can join us. And
we're hopefully going to continue making more videos throughout the week. We're really enjoying making these live streams. Just like we said, things have been crazy as we've been working on the downstairs and dealing with Josiah. So for those who might be new here, Josiah, who is just in here sitting on my lap, he's our 8-year-old that has CP and epilepsy. We've been working on his medication for seizures, things like that. So just with all of those craziness going on, Mommy has not been sleeping very well. So my videos are a little more laid back. And in the summer, cooking is a little more of a challenge. So cooking videos are not coming out.
Right.
Should do some non-cooking videos.
Here's me pouring something into a
Here's
cup.
how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, but we're also, we recently did a video. We did a video of Naomi just doing her thing, folding her paper, doing her origami, and she made something neat. And she likes to make those creations to give to people and just to bless people because she enjoys folding them, and she enjoys watching people enjoy them. So she's going to be doing a little bit more of that. We'll try to find a better way to do that video. That was me kind of last minute throwing a camera up in front of her face and saying, hey, you're just going to do this. And I'm just, yeah, okay, whatever. We've been trying to think through that, the best way to video, best way to light it, do we do instructional, that kind of thing. So we're working on that. Virginia's still working on memory stuff, as is Naomi. As she said, we're not doing a lot of cooking right now.
Our family still eats 3 meals a day plus snacks. I don't have much time that I think about. Try to get cooked as fast as possible.
Yeah, we try not to prolong anything that creates heat. So, yeah, that's probably about it for this week.
Okay.
So we'll see you guys hopefully sometime during the week, and check us out on Facebook. And she's on Instagram now when she remembers to look at it. But
I'm trying.
But we're also trying not to be on social media constantly because we have lives to live. So we want to encourage people and be part of things, but we also don't want to spend our whole lives watching those things. So if you like what we're doing, instead of me sending you a message every 10 seconds to say, hey, we made this video, hey, we made this video, if you just hit the subscribe button down there and then click the little bell, I don't know if we even have a bell, but the subscribe button, certainly, and you'll get information on your YouTube that says, hey, these people did something. They did a thing.
If you want to see our thing, then you can subscribe to us. But if you don't care about seeing our thing, that's fine too. If you think that whatever we're saying is beneficial to someone else, please share.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's about it.
We'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.